Carmen's words hit me hard. Think about how you treat my brother. She introduced herself calmly. I'm Stuart, 37, supervisor at Thornberry Systems in Columbus, Ohio. That night, sprawled on my couch with clothes piled next to me like trash, I did what Carmen asked. I thought about Marcus. I thought about paying his phone bill for 8 months straight. I thought about buying his groceries every week, never hearing a thank you. I thought about the dishes he left in the sink for days, expecting me to scrub them. The tools he borrowed and never returned. The truck he took without asking, returning it with an empty tank. Marcus wasn't just visiting. He'd been living with us for over a year, 15 months, to be exact. My spare bedroom was now his, stuffed with his gaming gear, clothes strewn everywhere, and an attitude that screamed I owed him. It all came to a head after dinner. I sat with Carmen and Marcus, budget spreadsheet in hand. Money was tight. My overtime got cut, and Carmen's part-time clinic job couldn't cover Marcus's extra costs. We need a plan, I told him. You chip in for utilities and groceries, or we talk about other options. Marcus just laughed. Other options? Stuart, we're family. You don't charge family. Carmen backed him up instantly. Stuart, that's harsh. Marcus is struggling right now. Struggling? For over a year. Marcus had been job hunting since he moved in, but nothing was ever good enough. Too early. Too far. Not enough pay. Always an excuse. I watched my savings dwindle monthly. I watched Carmen defend behavior she'd never accept from anyone else. I watched my own home turn into a place where I felt like a stranger. Lying on that couch, staring at the ceiling, something clicked. Not anger, but clarity. I'd been so focused on keeping peace, on being the good husband, that I'd let my boundaries slip. Carmen's words rang in my ears. Think about how you treat my brother. I had treated him like family. I gave him a home, food, and endless patience he didn't earn. Yet somehow, I was the bad guy. The house was still, except for Marcus's TV blaring upstairs. My TV, in my house, bought with my money. I closed my eyes and started planning. Carmen and I had been married 6 years. 4 years ago, we bought this modest 3-bedroom house on Columbus's east side. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. Or it used to be. Then Marcus arrived in January last year. Carmen's younger brother, 29, fresh off a messy breakup in Cleveland. He needed a place to crash. Just a few weeks, Carmen promised, until he's back on his feet. I said yes because that's what family does. You help out. Years ago, my own brother, Jacob, stayed with me when his marriage fell apart. But Jacob? He found an apartment in 6 weeks and paid for groceries the whole time. Marcus was different. He moved in like he'd been invited to a permanent vacation. The first month, I'd figured he was still adjusting. By the 3rd month, I'd started dropping hints about job hunting. By the 6th month, I'd begun having direct conversations about timelines. Carmen always had an excuse ready. The job market was tough. Marcus was dealing with depression. He'd just started applying for this really promising position. He needed time to figure out his next step. Meanwhile, my grocery bill had doubled. Our utility costs shot up from someone being home all day with the heat cranked and every electronic device running. My truck developed mysterious new scratches and dings. Tools disappeared from my garage. The breaking point conversations had started 3 months ago. Small ones at first. Me mentioning to Carmen that maybe Marcus could help with the electric bill. Her explaining that he was family and I was being petty. Me suggesting he might contribute to household chores. Her reminding me that he was going through a difficult time. Last month, I'd tried a different approach. I'd sat down with Marcus directly, man to man. Explained that I wasn't trying to kick him out, but we needed to establish some ground rules about expenses and responsibilities. He'd nodded along, agreed completely, then changed nothing. 2 weeks ago, I discovered he'd been ordering takeout on my credit card. When I confronted him, he'd claimed it was a misunderstanding. When I asked Carmen about it, she'd said I was overreacting to an honest mistake. That's when I'd started noticing other things. How Carmen's tone changed whenever I brought up Marcus. How she'd started treating my concerns like character flaws. How she'd begun making me feel guilty for wanting basic respect in my own home. The warning signs had been there for months. I'd just been too busy trying to be the good guy to see them clearly. The realization hit me around 3 a.m., lying on that couch with a thin blanket and a throw pillow that smelled like Marcus's cologne. This wasn't about money. It wasn't about chores or respect or even Marcus's freeloading. This was about the fact that my wife had chosen her brother over me, and I'd been too busy trying to fix things to see it. Carmen had thrown my clothes on the couch like I was a stranger who'd overstayed his welcome in my own house because I'd asked her brother to contribute financially or make other living arrangements. I thought about the last year and 3 months. Really thought about it. Every conversation where Carmen had dismissed my concerns. Every time she'd made me feel selfish for wanting my own space back. Every instance where she'd treated Marcus's comfort as more important than our marriage. The pattern was clear once I stopped making excuses for it. Carmen had made her choice long ago. She just never bothered to tell me. I sat up on the couch and looked around the living room. My furniture, my television, my house. But somehow, I was the one sleeping on the couch because I'd suggested that a grown man should pay his own way. The anger came slowly, like a tide rolling in, not the explosive kind that makes you slam doors and yell. The quiet kind that burns steady and changes everything. I walked into the kitchen and made coffee at 3:30 a.m. Sat at the table where I'd tried to have that reasonable conversation about the budget just hours earlier. The table where Marcus had laughed at the idea of contributing to his own living expenses. That's when I understood what needed to happen. I wasn't going to fight about this anymore. I wasn't going to have another conversation about fairness or respect or boundaries. I wasn't going to try to convince Carmen that her husband's feelings mattered as much as her brother's convenience. I was done. The decision settled into my chest like something that had always been there, waiting for me to notice it. I wasn't angry at Carmen anymore. I wasn't frustrated with Marcus. I was just finished with a situation that had no solution as long as I was the only one trying to solve it. I finished my coffee and went back to the couch. But I didn't try to sleep. Instead, I started making a mental list of everything I needed to do. First, I'd call my boss and take a personal day. Then, I'd start looking for an apartment. Something small, something mine. Somewhere I could drink coffee at my own kitchen table without feeling like an intruder. The sun was coming up when I finally closed my eyes. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. Carmen found me drinking coffee in the kitchen the next morning. She was already dressed for work, moving around like nothing had happened, like she hadn't banished her husband to the couch the night before. "You left the coffee maker on all night," she said, not looking at me. "I made fresh coffee at 3:30. She paused, finally meeting my eyes. "Stuart, about last night. I've been thinking about what you said, about how I treat Marcus." Her expression softened. She probably thought I was going to apologize. Good, because his family, and family doesn't. "I'm taking a personal day today. We need to have a real conversation about this situation." The softness disappeared. What kind of conversation? The kind where we figure out if this marriage is still working for both of us. Carmen set down her coffee mug hard enough to splash liquid onto the counter. "Are you seriously threatening divorce because I defended my brother?" "I'm not threatening anything. I'm trying to understand why asking a grown man to contribute to his own living expenses makes me the villain in this house." "Because you knew he was going through a rough time when he moved in. You agreed to help him for a few weeks." "It's been over a year, Carmen. He's not even looking for work anymore." She turned away from me, grabbing paper towels to clean up the spilled coffee. "He's been applying to places. The job market is terrible right now. When was the last time he went on an interview?" Silence. "When was the last time he even filled out an application?" More silence. "Carmen, he ordered $200 worth of food on my credit card last month. When I asked him about it, he said it was a mistake. When I asked you, you said I was overreacting. It was a mistake. He's been using my truck without permission for months. Yesterday, I found out he borrowed $500 from your cousin Danny and never paid it back. How is any of this my fault for bringing it up? Carmen finished cleaning the counter and turned back to me. Her face had that set expression I'd learned to recognize, the one that meant she'd already made up her mind and wasn't interested in hearing alternatives. Marcus is going through the worst time of his life. His girlfriend left him. He lost his apartment. He's struggling with depression. And instead of supporting him like family should, you're nickel-and-diming him over groceries and utilities. I'm not nickel-and-diming anyone. I'm asking for basic respect and responsibility from someone who's barely holding it together. Carmen, he's not barely holding it together. He's playing video games 12 hours a day and ordering takeout on my credit card. That's not depression. That's taking advantage. Her voice went cold. So, what are you saying? That we should kick him out, put him on the street? I'm saying we should treat him like an adult who's capable of taking care of himself with a timeline and expectations. You want me to choose between you and my brother? The words hung in the air between us. She'd said it like an accusation, but she was right. That's exactly what I wanted because that's exactly what the situation had become. Yeah, I said quietly. I guess I do. Carmen stared at me for a long moment. Then she picked up her purse and headed for the door. I'm going to work. When I get home tonight, I expect you to have figured out how to be more supportive of my family. The door closed behind her with a sharp click. I sat there in the empty kitchen, listening to the sound of her car pulling out of the driveway. Then I heard Marcus's alarm clock going off upstairs, followed by the sound of him hitting snooze for the third time. I spent the morning going through our financial records, bank statements, credit card bills, utility payments. I'd been tracking the numbers in my head for months, but seeing them laid out on paper made the situation crystal clear. Our monthly expenses had increased by 63% since Marcus moved in. Not just from an extra person in the house, but from someone who consumed resources like he was trying to set a record. The electric bill alone had doubled. Our grocery costs had gone from $200 a month to over $400. But the real discovery came when I started digging deeper into our joint account activity. 3 months ago, Carmen had withdrawn $800 in cash. When I'd asked about it at the time, she'd said it was for a co-worker's baby shower gift and some other expenses she couldn't remember. I'd accepted the explanation because $800 wasn't going to break us, and I trusted my wife. 2 months ago, another $600. This time, she'd said it was for car repairs that the shop had wanted in cash for some reason. Last month, $500. She'd mentioned something about helping a friend, but she'd been vague about the details. I pulled up our online banking and went back further. The pattern was there, going back almost to when Marcus first moved in. Small withdrawals here and there, always with reasonable explanations, always in amounts that wouldn't trigger a big conversation. Marcus wasn't just not contributing to the household. Carmen had been giving him money, our money she'd been taking from our joint account and handing over to her brother without telling me. I sat back in my desk chair and stared at the computer screen. The betrayal wasn't just about choosing Marcus over me. It was about lying to me while she did it. I thought about all the conversations we'd had about money being tight. How I'd been picking up extra shifts when I could find them. How I'd been putting off replacing my work boots because we needed to watch our spending. How I'd been feeling guilty about every small purchase while Carmen was secretly funding her brother's lifestyle. The phone rang. Carmen's name on the caller ID. I've been thinking about this morning, she said when I answered. I think we both said things we didn't mean. Did we? Stuart, I know this situation isn't ideal, but Marcus really is struggling, and his family. I need you to understand that. How much money have you given him? Silence. Carmen, how much money have you given Marcus from our joint account? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm looking at our bank statements right now. Cash withdrawals going back over a year. Always with explanations that didn't quite add up. More silence. Jesus Christ. Carmen. How much? It's not what you think. How much? Her voice was barely a whisper. Maybe $3,000. Over the whole time he's been here. $3,000 on top of all the food, utilities, and everything else I'd been paying for. $3,000 she'd given to her brother while telling me we needed to tighten our belts. Stuart, he needed help. Real help, not just a place to stay. So, you decided to help him with our money without telling me. I knew you'd say no. You're damn right I would have said no because we're married, Carmen. We're supposed to make financial decisions together. I was trying to help my family. I thought I was your family, too. The line went quiet except for the sound of her breathing. I'll be home around 6 o'clock, she said finally. We need to talk about this properly. She hung up before I could respond. I didn't wait until 6 o'clock. After Carmen hung up, I called 3 apartment complexes on the north side of Columbus. The first one had a 1-bedroom available immediately. The second had a waiting list. The third could show me something that afternoon. I drove to Copperfield Gardens at 2 p.m. and walked through a small 1-bedroom apartment with hardwood floors and a kitchen that looked out onto a courtyard. It was quiet. It was clean. It was mine if I wanted it. I'll take it, I told the property manager. Don't you want to think about it? Talk it over with your wife. No. I signed the lease and paid the deposit with money from my personal checking account. The account Carmen didn't have access to. The one I'd been putting a small amount into each month since we'd gotten married, thinking of it as emergency money. This qualified as an emergency. By 4 p.m., I was back home loading my truck. Not everything, just the essentials. Clothes, my tools, my laptop, a few pieces of furniture that had been mine before the marriage. I worked methodically, like I was completing a project at work. Marcus wandered downstairs around 4:30, probably looking for something to eat. Moving furniture around, he asked, watching me carry a dresser past the living room. Something like that. Need help? The offer was so absurd, I almost laughed. Marcus volunteering to help with physical labor. No thanks. He shrugged and went into the kitchen. I heard the refrigerator open and close, then the sound of the microwave starting up. I made 3 trips to the apartment, bringing over the basics. On the 3rd trip, I stopped at an office supply store and bought a small package of note cards. I wrote a simple message on one of them. Carmen, I'm done being treated like an intruder in my own home. I'm done having my concerns dismissed and my boundaries ignored. I'm done being lied to about money. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. Don't contact me until you're ready to have an honest conversation about what happened here. Stuart. I left the note on the kitchen counter, propped against the coffee maker, right where she'd see it when she got home. Then I walked through the house one more time. Not out of sentiment, but to make sure I hadn't forgotten anything important. The place already felt different, like a hotel I'd checked out of but hadn't quite left yet. I was loading the last box into my truck when my neighbor Teresa came over. She was an older woman, maybe 70, who'd lived next door since before Carmen and I had bought the house. Everything okay, Stuart? Just making some changes. She looked at the truck, then back at me. Teresa wasn't stupid. She'd probably heard some of the arguments over the past few months. You know where to find me if you need anything, she said. Thanks, Teresa. Take care of yourself. I drove to the apartment and unloaded everything in one trip. It didn't take long. Amazing how little you actually need when you strip away all the complications. By 6:30 p.m., I was sitting in my new kitchen with a beer and a sandwich, looking out at the courtyard. No television upstairs. No dishes in the sink that weren't mine. No one borrowing my things or spending my money or making me feel guilty for wanting basic respect. My phone had been buzzing for the past hour. Text messages from Carmen. I turned it off without reading them. For the first time in over a year, I was home. 3 days later, Carmen showed up at my apartment. I opened the door to find her standing in the hallway with red eyes and a desperate expression. She'd been crying, probably for hours. Stuart, please. We need to talk. We can talk right here. Can I come in? No. She took a shaky breath. Marcus is gone. Good for Marcus. You don't understand. He left yesterday, packed his stuff, and disappeared. No note, no explanation. Just gone. I leaned against the door frame and waited for her to continue. I can't afford the house payments without your income. I called the mortgage company, and they said I have 30 days to bring the payment current, or they'll start foreclosure proceedings. That's unfortunate, Carmen. I know I messed up. I know I should have told you about the money, but we can fix this. We can work through it. How much money did you give him, Carmen? The real number. Her voice cracked. About $5,000 total. $5,000, not $3,000 like she'd admitted on the phone. $5,000 of our money, handed over to her brother while she told me we needed to cut back on expenses. He took it all when he left, she continued. Everything I'd given him, plus he emptied my jewelry box, my grandmother's ring, the necklace you gave me for our anniversary. Everything. The irony was perfect. Marcus had finally shown Carmen exactly who he was, but only after she destroyed her marriage to protect him. I'm sorry that happened to you, Carmen. Please, Stuart. I'll do anything. I'll go to counseling. I'll make it up to you. Just come home. I am home. You know what I mean. I stared at my wife of 6 years. She'd lied to me, chosen her brother over our marriage, and now wanted me to fix her mess. No. What do you mean, no? Carmen, I'm done. I won't come back. You chose this when you tossed my clothes on the couch for asking your brother to grow up. You chose it when you hid the truth about money. And Marcus chose it when he stole from you and vanished. But I love you. If you loved me, you wouldn't have blamed me for a year. Her tears fell harder. Please don't leave me. I left 3 days ago. 6 months later, I bumped into Carmen's cousin, Danny, at a Reynoldsburg hardware store. Stuart, how you holding up? Good, Danny. You? Not bad. He hesitated, then brought it up. Heard about you and Carmen. Yeah. I never got why she let Marcus mooch so long. Guy's a pro at it. Heard from him. Danny shook his head. Not since he bolted. Carmen tried tracking him down. Turns out, he borrowed cash from half the family and never paid back. Owed my wife's sister $800 from 2 years ago. It clicked. Marcus didn't just scam Carmen and me, he worked the whole family, one kind soul at a time. How's Carmen? Lost the house last month. Renting a room from her friend Julie now. Works 2 jobs to cover it. Danny shifted uncomfortably. She asks about you sometimes. I'm good. Got my own place, some freelance gigs on weekends. Life's solid. And it was. I started cooking again, made friends with neighbors, took evening walks without dreading what I'd come home to. Carmen lost her house, her brother, and our marriage because she enabled someone who didn't deserve it. Marcus burned every bridge, leaving debt and distrust. Me. I learned walking away can save you. Some lessons hurt more, but they're worth it.